Hello everyone. So for my first video for my midterm, I'm going to be talking about gendered embodiment. So first I wanted to break down the word. Gender is the way we act according to society's rules and standards. How is it okay for a woman to act a certain way compared to a man? What is socially acceptable? For example, when women tend to be more emotional, and men tend to not show emotion because in our society that is depicted as a weakness. So talking about the difference between gender and sex, because I think is very important to know that there is a difference between the two. That sex is physically whether someone is male or female. And gender is the way we act upon being a male or a female. So embodiment basically means within the body. So the way we act comparing men to women within our bodies, that has been defined and formed in our society. So how society has depicted an image of ourselves of how we feel that we need to act, whether you are a man or a woman. So the question is, how do bodies become gendered? An article by Kieran Martin called Becoming a Gendered Body explains how men and women move differently, how they sit, how they stand, how they walk. Women tend to be more confined and restricted. They take smaller steps, they sit in closed positions, while men tend to not. It is socially acceptable for them to sit in open positions. Our bodies also portray and signal information to other people about our power and our status. So an example of this is basically in a simple sense of how you hold yourself. Do you stand up straight? Do you walk with confidence? If so, you're showing to other people your sense of power and how you physically show a higher status compared to someone else who may slouch and kind of seem unsure and unconfident of themselves. So it's important to know that gender is something that it's done. It isn't something that is present within ourselves when we're born. It's something that we learn. Martin discusses how this begins in early childhood, specifically talking about from grade school, how teachers teach us how to sit, to be quiet, how to hold ourselves, and this is kind of where we begin to learn how boys and girls do not act the same, that we act differently, that boys may be more rough and more violent, and girls will not. They'll be more, soft-spoken and maybe tend to be more emotional, and we learn that this is how you're supposed to act, whether you are a boy or a girl. So gender is something that sits on the surface of ourselves. So basically how we portray ourselves to other people. And this has become embodied within us. It is who we are physically and psychologically. How we think about ourselves, how we, portray ourselves to other people. Especially when it comes to men. Men use their bodies for a source of power. Just by being a man, you are seen in our society as more powerful compared to a woman. And, according to feminism, there's no reason why a man should be more powerful than a woman, just because, they are a man. And Martin explains that this stems from the fact that women are taught to have a lack of confidence, and this stems from the inability to move confidently in a space and to take up space. So we feel that we can't use our bodies to the fullest extent. Our society and social media and women, are constantly feeling horrible about themselves, that they're not good enough, that they're not thin enough, that they're not pretty enough. And, if you can't have that power within yourself, to be confident within yourself, there's no way that, females are going to be able to feel powerful unless if you begin to feel that you are good enough, and just compared to a man. So females and males have specific gender roles that are acceptable. Now these are the roles that become embodied within ourselves. We are taught, what is socially okay for a man and what is socially okay for a woman. So, for example, when I was in Cancun, and just got back a few days ago, I took the time to stop and look around and just watch people. I kind of wanted to see how men and women acted differently, sat differently, held themselves, and I noticed that women almost always sat with their legs closed, especially when you're in a bathing suit and you're sitting in a lounge chair, and, you know, having a woman sit with their legs open is not socially acceptable. That is not something that is embodied within ourselves. We are taught that you need to sit with your legs closed. Because socially, you know, it's not ladylike to sit that way. And, you know, for men, they can sit with their legs open. That is okay for them, because socially, we don't have a problem with men sitting like that. For a personal example with me of that specific situation, when I was in my living room with my fiance and his friends, I was sitting on the couch, and I had my legs on the coffee table with my legs open, and honestly, I really didn't think twice about it. I didn't think I was making a big deal, and, you know, I'm in my own home, so what does it matter to me? And after everyone left, my fiance came up to me and was like, Ariana, I can't believe that, you know, why were you sitting like that? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you know, you're sitting there with your legs open, and, you know, everyone's looking at your crotch like, you know, there's this imaginary giant arrow to my crotch because my legs are open. You know, and I embarrassed him, and in that moment I kind of stepped back and thought how, you know, socially, it isn't, you know, okay for a woman to sit like that. When, you know, like, for example, when I did it, I didn't get a positive reaction out of it compared to when men do, and they do it all the time and it's okay, but for a woman, you know, it's totally not okay. And it's kind of interesting to have that happen, you know, to me firsthand, so I can kind of understand, you know, how socially we are embodied and we learn how to act a certain way and to behave a certain way because of society standards. You know, what is okay for a woman and what is, you know, okay for a man. And also too, when I was in Cancun, I noticed that when men were drunk, or men and women are drinking, that men tend to be more loud and more obnoxious. They make their presence known to everybody. They want people to know that they're there. And I honestly did not see one woman acting like that the entire time. You know, and I think this comes from the sense of men feel they're powerful, let alone, you know, that they can take up space, that they can be loud and make themselves known, while women tend to not feel like that because, you know, that stems from us being not having a lack of confidence to be able to make our presence known towards other people. And, you know, women should be able to feel that, you know, they can make their presence known and they are powerful within themselves, but society, that's not what we've created, and that this is a lot of what people are trying to change, and that we're trying to let people know that men and women should be created equally. Women should be able to feel, you know, comfortable, and should be able, there shouldn't be such, it's okay for one person to do one thing and not the other, and, you know, women should be able to feel confident just like men do. So wrapping it up, you know, gendered embodiment is basically how our society, how we have learned how to behave and act based on what sex you are. So, you know, you're a male or a female. You know, if a male or female is using opposite roles, acting upon opposite roles, like me sitting with my legs open, it doesn't have a positive reaction. And yeah, so that is all I have for this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a great winter break.